All right, you want Jordan Poole on the team or not? I mean, I think it boils down to that after listening to Steve Kerr earlier, and we'll hear him again at 5. He'll be with us live. Here's why I make it about that. To me, the offseason sort of boils down to two questions. One, what is Jordan Poole's trade value? And secondly, can Jordan Poole and Draymond coexist? And I know when a lot of people explore that question, because Steve absolutely admitted today that the punch, they never got over it. So when people explore that question, some say, well, why would you get rid of Poole? Why don't you get rid of Draymond? Well, here's Steve Kerr on the idea of Draymond not being back on the team next year.
If Draymond's not back, we're not a championship contender. We know that. I mean, he's that important to winning and to who we are. So I absolutely want him back. He's a competitor. He's an incredible defensive player. We can check all those boxes. And he and I have built a really special relationship that has run the gamut, over the years. We've had our share of run-ins, but we've been through so much. We really care about each other and work together well. He knows that he had a great season this year from a basketball perspective, but he knows that he also compromised things by what happened back in October. And so part of him coming back next year has to be about, rebuilding some of that trust and respect that he's earned here for a long period of time. And one thing I love about Draymond is he's always brutally honest, and he can take that sort of critique because he knows it's the truth. So I want him back. I think we all want him back. And hopefully that's exactly what happens. And we get ready to make another run next year.
There's a couple things there. Absolutely want him back. But yeah, there's also an assignment. There's an assignment for the offseason, which is what you and I are sitting here breaking down, and it is hard to answer. Like, I don't know how you go about doing that. The punch was, let's see, October, right?
Yep.
There's a November, December, January.
7 months.
Right? And they're not there yet. Can they be there in another 4 months? Can they be there in another 12 months?
Will there be basketball in 12 months?
Well, Kyle Shanahan doesn't even know if any of us are going to be alive.
True, but you've got to get through April to get to May, and you barely made it through April this year. And I won't say you were lucky because I don't believe in luck. You make your own luck, and when you've got one of the best players in the history of the game put up a 50 burger rather, then there's no luck in that. You had the best player do best player things, and you won a Game 7. That was awesome. But to get to where you are now, next year is going to take a lot more than what you put out this year to do it.
We are streaming live on YouTube as always. All you got to do is go to youtube.com/957 The Game. Watch us live. Who knows what could happen? You can see Dibs' backward hat. If somebody accidentally swears, you get to hear it when no one else does because Grandy's good like that. Please like and subscribe for all of the 95.7 The Game content on YouTube, including our Warriors Summit, which we just announced is coming next Monday. Our entire show will be there from 2 to 6, but all the hosts will be there, including JD, Bonte, Shasky, Steiny Guru, and ourselves will be there from 4 to 6 at Buon Vino in Walnut Creek, open to the public. We hope to see you there. Steve Kerr at 5 o'clock. Good Doc coming up at 4 o'clock. Let's get some calls. How about Boots in San Pablo? Hey, Boots, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you all?
Oh, fantastic.
That's good. Thank you for taking my call. And to answer your question, I really do think that Jordan Poole should stay on the team.
And why is that?
You want to know why?
Yes, we
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, so I heard part of Mr. Kerr's interview, his exit interview, and before I even heard it, I knew that punch was impactful. You could tell from the body language. You can tell by how people are reacting. So if it impacted the Warriors organization and the fans, then most of all it impacted Mr. Poole. And so much so, because I remember last year when they were playing and they won unexpectedly, he was so much part of making calls and in the huddle with the three veterans and playing with joy, which is what the Warriors are known for. And then after the punch, he wasn't so much. But the other group that was so impacted were all the other young guys, Mr. Wiseman included. They were no doubt excited to be part of the Warriors and be integrated in that culture. And then they're seeing behind the scenes, they're seeing far much more than we're seeing. So they kind of lost that trust. And I think they deserve to have that trust back. I think it can be rebuilt. I don't know all the ins and outs of the game, but I do know the human spirit. And they need to have that trust, have the confidence instilled in them playing in the regular season and behind the scenes that they really can be warriors and they can win many more championships to come.
Yeah, Boots, I think this is a really good call. I just have one question, and thank you very much. The one question I have is, because I think she brings up a very fair point, which is, okay, if they're going to admit that the punch had a season-long effect, then shouldn't we adjust our expectations for Jordan Poole because he was affected most? I think that's fair, but we're now at a spot where we're looking into the future, and that's my question. Now do we have to adjust our expectations for the rest of his Warriors career? Because if we do, now I'm interested in trading him. Because what you're basically saying is he can only be his best self on another team. Or can he actually get to a spot where they fully, completely get over it and move on?
I also think that and I'm not saying you're saying this, but that notion would be that this is the only thing that's causing Jordan Poole to not play as well as Jordan Poole has played. I don't believe that the punch is the sole reason why Jordan Poole didn't play as well as Jordan Poole has played in the past. I do think part of it is the nature of the way he plays and the way he succeeds and thrives. It doesn't jibe with Warrior basketball because he doesn't oftentimes play the way Steph, Clay, and Draymond play, ball movement, player movement. The ball goes to Jordan Poole, and he's got a one-track mind of, I'm going to score, I'm going to get mine in this spot. So I think it's more than the punch in terms of a long-term fit.
I agree with that. I agree with that completely. We all watched Jordan Poole, just the basketball player, and he's a frustrating player. I don't love his decision-making. But even the characteristics that you just threw out there, which I'm not 100% sure. I think we put thoughts in Jordan's head a lot. I think I'm Steph. I want to get mine. I don't know if it's selfishness or just the lack of knowledge, right? He's still learning. He's 23. I don't know which it is, and that matters because one of them you can learn and grow out of.
Yeah.
And the other one means you're a stubborn mule. And if you're a stubborn mule, then yeah, you can go be a stubborn mule on the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, to me, it's less about stubborn and it's more just about Jordan Poole playing a certain way. And you look at what he did this year statistically, he shot more, he shot poorer, he shot, a few more threes than normal. His three-point percentage went down. All of his percentages went down. He didn't take better shots and he didn't make more shots, and I didn't think that he made much of an adjustment over the course of the year. Now, was that because he felt a disconnect with Draymond Green, and by proxy, a disconnect with the big three? Because you saw frustration from Steph and Clay as well, and to my knowledge, they never punched him in the face. So to me, it's more than just him feeling like, I'm not connected to the veterans because I got punched. I think it's more than that.
I agree.
I think that played a role in it, but so as far as the rehabilitation of the relationship, it has to start with Draymond Green, but it also has to come from Jordan Poole in terms of how are you going to play? Because the way he plays is not conducive to the way the Warriors play, in my opinion.
My guess would be that those two things are connected, though.
In a way, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If the relationship is repaired, well, now Jordan is going to be maybe a little bit more of a listener to the big three. Because isn't it possible that this year, to borrow again the stubborn mule idea, which is if I don't trust you, Draymond, and I'm not listening to you, well, then I'm going to play the basketball that I know.
Right.
And when you're 23 and very, very talented, you come out of high school and college and AAU, and it's always the same thing. It's like going to the McDonald's All-American game. Nobody's looking to play smart basketball. They're like, oh, the ball's in my hand, and I'm one of the greatest scorers in the world. So I'm going to score. And there's really not many other thoughts. Now, Jordan's not dumb. He's been around the Warriors for a while, so I don't think that's his only thought, but it seems to be his thought a little bit too often. And we have the details that he was upset with his role. He does think he should be starting. He does think he should be more of a centerpiece of this. So if your mind is in these two places, A, I'm not getting enough opportunity. I'm better than they're letting me show. And that Draymond guy, he's a bully. He's an idiot. Why am I listening to him? All of those things push against the Warriors winning basketball games, I believe.
Agreed. And I think this is where Steve Kerr is going to have to do a lot of work with Jordan Poole in terms of his role, because if you do run it back, Steph, Clay, and Dre, Wiggins and Looney, GP2 is signed, everybody's signed, I don't think that Jordan Poole is going to start unless Klay Thompson is able to be convinced that it's his time to now come off the bench. And so far in Klay's career, if you want to look at the history of Klay Thompson, he doesn't come off the bench. He did as a rookie, and that's it. Klay starts basketball games. It's what he does.
Yep.
So Steph comes off the bench. Draymond came off the bench.
I think he'll still come off the. He's come off the. He doesn't have a choice.
But if it's about role, then get over yourself, Jordan, because you led the team in MP. Minutes played. No other human being played as many minutes as Jordan Poole.
We all know that Jordan Poole, even if he's coming off the bench, there are going to be a lot of games he starts.
He started 43 of 82.
From load management to injuries to people in their 30s, those openings are going to come.
I think it's more about that than it is about, like, when everybody's on the court and everybody's healthy, can Jordan Poole feel like he is, maybe he's not Steph, but can he be the number two? Does he have to feel like I'm not supposed to be shooting? Because, and this is not just a fan sentiment, I would guarantee you that there is a feeling in the locker room of, Jordan, don't shoot so much. Jordan, stop going to the hoop so much.
Well,
Jordan, you need to find me. I'm Klay Thompson. Who are you?
How about Jordan become a more well-rounded player? I don't think the Warriors have a big problem. Like, their problem, I would bet, is less about what our problem is with Jordan. Our problem, the fan, is with Jordan Poole's shot selection. The Warriors' problem with Jordan Poole, number one problem, is he's terrible at the other end of the court. And that's what they need. Can you be a two if you're going to be that bad on the defensive end?
No.
I don't think you can.
Especially when you're playing alongside Steph, who is, he's an average defender. And I think Steph took a step back this year defensively.
And he had to work very hard because at the beginning of his career was just like Jordan.
Right.
They targeted him. They go after him. He's worked very hard to at least become an average defender. Jordan needs to do that.
Right.
Let's be honest. He's got to do that.
And that's work, and he's put in the work in the lab, shout out Guru, to be an offensive player. But then you look at this year offensively, and Jordan's quoted in the Logan Murdoch piece in The Ringer saying, you know, I thought I played great. I improved in two categories this year. Well, yeah, that was points per game and assists per game. But let's talk about turnovers that went up. And all of the percentages, including free throw.
Yeah, everything went down.
Free throw went down from 92.5, led the league to 87. 3-point down, 2-point down. Everything was down. Turnovers up. So, yeah, you scored more points a game. You took more shots. It's not good.
I will admit I didn't like that quote because it made it sound like Jordan thinks he had a great year, and he didn't. It wasn't awful. It wasn't a disaster. But Jordan did not have a great year.
If you rank the years, individual years, if you rank the years
of the Warriors players,
I would go Steph 1.
Steph was 1.
Kevon 2.
Yep, agreed.
And then probably Draymond 3.
Well, are we just talking about the quote-unquote
regular and post
foundational 6? Are we just talking about those 6?
No, talking about the whole team.
Well, DiVincenzo had a career year.
Right,
I mean,
right. But how did that impact the overall body?
Right.
So he was a 10th man who had a 7th man, 6th man's kind of year.
Right.
So he's definitely further up the list than he would have been. But I would rank him. I would go Steph, Kevon, Draymond, and then I'd be open to a conversation. Maybe Dante was 4th.
I mean, I still think
maybe Klay.
I think Klay was 4th, and we have a hard time saying it out of our mouths because we're frustrated with last week. But until then,
that is partly true.
Yeah, I mean, the guy led the NBA in 3-pointers.
Attempts.
That too.
And makes.
That too.
I mean,
all right. So he fires.
And he shot 41% from 3. I'm not going to discount the percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Trey in San Jose. Hey, Trey, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What are you doing, Trey?
Hey, man, I'm so glad to talk to you guys. I was just thinking about, like, on all your analysis that I've heard, as I was driving home, was you haven't mentioned Wiggins, right? I mean, I don't know about Poole and his fit long-term with the Warriors, and Kerr's ability to coach him and find a role for him now and in the future, right? I love Poole's potential. But, how that fits in now and some of his shot selection, his defense, like you guys have pointed that out. But in terms of trade, like you said, right, if I wanted a tangible asset that could go to somebody else, right, I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. I'm hoping my Nuggets beat the Lakers. But, man, I would love to have a Wiggins on my team to come and do what he does, but you haven't talked anything about that. And I want to hear your thoughts about where Wiggins could go and his potential.
Thanks, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not off the table. I think the reason it doesn't come up nearly as much is because if you buy into this notion that the Warriors are looking for a 2, well, who most recently was a 2 on a championship team? Andrew Wiggins. He was the 2 last year. Maybe not the whole year, but in the playoffs, there was no doubt about it.
Right.
Who the Warriors' number 2 was. Plus, let's look at some other things. Oh, the Warriors shoot too much. They need people who go to the basket. That's Andrew Wiggins.
Right.
The Warriors were worse on defense. They need people who can defend the wings in the NBA. That's Andrew Wiggins. I guess the reason his name doesn't come up, well, to say it simply, the Warriors really like him. They love what Andrew Wiggins does.
And
so they don't want to get rid of him.
And he is a bargain, Mark.
He is a
relative bargain. He'll be the 5th highest paid Warrior next year.
Making less than Jordan next year.
If Draymond opts in for 27.6, Wiggs is making 24 next year. But so even if you traded him, you're only getting a $24 million type of player back, and you're not getting a player at $24 million who's better than your guy that you already have at $24 million.
I mean, again, not off the table, but my goodness, somebody would have to blow you away. I mean, if you really wanted to rework the roster around the big 3, I mean, could you start thinking about blockbusters where Wiggins and Poole and Kuminga are all available? I guess you could. What are we going to do? Go get Embiid? Like, I mean, sure.
Well, at that point, you would need 2 players.
Of course.
Because you're giving up 3 rotational pieces.
And north of $50 million.
62, actually, at my rudimentary math. That'd be 58.7.
58.7.
Plus, you don't have the mid-level next year because you're over the tax.
Correct.
So your ways of getting depth next year, right now, your only way is vet min. And how'd that work out for you this year?
Not great.
Well, J-Mike was pretty good.
I actually think it was a disappointment if you look at the whole picture. I know he came in and hit a couple threes there in the Lakers series. And
well worth the 1.836.
Put it this way. The day they signed JaMychal Green, the moment I saw that notification come through, I was like, yeah, it was. It was a notification sensation. It
All
was.
I have to do is
just
give
look
you
at me. I'm like, yes, it was. It was a notification sensation.
Huh, Marky? Yeah? You got one for me? Thank you.
I laughed when it came through because I'm like, oh my gosh, the rich get richer.
Yeah.
They turned Otto Porter into JaMychal Green. Well, he wasn't Otto Porter. He was not Otto Porter. He was not even close to Otto Porter.
He was Otto Porter light. 57 games.
He was very Otto Porter light.
6.4 a night.
Yeah.
3.6 gritty rebounds.
Yeah, but he disappeared for large portions of the season where they didn't put him on the floor.
True.
I put it. He was less than what I thought he was going to be the day they signed him.
More impactful than the other guy who they signed on the vet min deal, that's for sure.
Yes, he was.
Thank you.